all of the ASCA members out there listening to our monthly board meeting. Today is Thursday, May 16th, 2024. I am Susan Byrne, your ASCA president, and those in attendance so far in the meeting are First Vice Rick Gann, Second Vice Donna Sims, Treasurer Jody McClellan, Secretary Ann McCabe, Directors Jillian Ward and Jerry Scheit. And we are hoping that the other two directors may be able to join us, but they may be coming in later. So the first item on the agenda this evening is the 2026 Nationals contract. Rick?
Yes, thank you. I'm not sure these contracts that we're talking about today came in while you were out of the country. So I took the liberty to forward them on to David to get final input and send to the board for their viewing. So I guess we just need to see if there's any comments, and maybe we can confirm the approval of these contracts tonight.
Great, thank you. So I think for the situation, because it is a contract that we're looking at, we're just gonna go around round robin. Donna, do you have anything that you'd like to say about the contract for the 2026 Nationals?
I think on the when it came through, I had commented on like my concern was the food vending, that, and I think everybody kind of commented on that. Did that get changed? Did anything get addressed on that by chance, Rick?
Not that I'm aware of.
Are you
Okay,
guys,
that would be my concern. That there were what, 2 food vendors? Like I didn't know about that.
which contract are you guys talking about? Because there's 2 items and the first one is Greeley. So
Correct.
are we talking about either of them, or?
At this point, it's only the 2026 for Greeley.
And so, because I'm not clear, Donna, are you referring to that one or are you referring to Nebraska?
Sorry, I was thinking of the Nebraska one.
Well, because I was like, oh gosh, if there's that issue, I missed it. So, okay, I just want to be clear.
No, my bad. Too many contracts coming through, and that's what was in my mind.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Okay, great. So Donna, for the 2026 contract for Greeley, do you have any concerns there or any comments?
I do not.
Thank you. Jody, do you have anything on 2026?
I do not.
Thank you. And do you have any concerns about the 2026 contract for Greeley?
No, I don't. Looks pretty standard. We've been there before, so we know what to expect. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Jillian, 2026 Greeley.
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Jerry, 2026 Greeley.
I didn't see anything in the contract. I just have one question. Rick, David didn't have any concerns with the contract?
Yes, there was one concern that he had, and that was a $3,000 an hour penalty for us not vacating the premises on time. So he felt like that was a little unreasonable. That might be something that we'd like to address. I mean, I think we've always got out of the facility in a timely manner, but this is like $72,000 a day if we're a day late. That was his concern.
Right. And I read that, and I also thought that we've never had any difficulty vacating the premises at the completion of one of our national specialties. So even though I saw that, recognized that, I didn't feel that that was a major concern. I understand it's a hefty dollar amount, don't get me wrong, but the nationals that I have been involved with the past 3 years for sure, and a couple of different nationals before that, we've always managed to clear the premises before that deadline of midnight on the Saturday of the completion of the event. So, when we select a chairperson for the 2026 Nationals, that is definitely something that would need to be addressed as far as what is stated in that contract. And I feel like that's not going to be any kind of an issue on that. Does everybody agree with that?
I agree.
Okay, thank you guys.
And I
agree.
you know, I do agree, but there's always what if.
Agreed. Understood. Totally understood. And at this point, since we have no chair for that 2026 Nationals, if we are comfortable asking the NAC to go back to Greeley to ask about that portion of the contract being revisited upon our attorney's advice, or if that's something that we all feel like one of us needs to take that topic and address them directly. Either way is perfectly fine with me. And we need to just get that in writing. And like I said, I feel like we're going to be good to go. Historically, we always have been. Yes, there's always that strange occurrence that is possible that we might not make it out of there on time. So, Rick, do you wish to present a motion at this time?
I do. I think we can have the NAC go back, but I would like to make a motion to pay the deposit for this facility so we could, at least get on their books for the time being. I think some of this other stuff we can work through, but I would like to make a motion. I believe it was $5,000 if I'm correct.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, that I would like to make a motion to us to prove that tonight. So we are on their books and we can at least get that done.
Okay.
I'll second that. This is Donna.
Thank you. Thank you, Donna. Okay. Do we have any discussion with a motion on the floor to send a $5,000 deposit to secure Greeley, Colorado for the 2026 Nationals? Motion by Rick, seconded by Donna. Is there any further discussion?
Can I just ask, do either of you recall a contract from Greeley in the past which included that clause previously? Because we have been there many times, or is this something new? Are either of you aware of that, or anybody else on the board aware of that?
Jerry?
I have,
This is Jerry. We had that when CASA hosted the Nationals and it was there, but we were out of there. It was negotiated that maybe it was on a, if we saw that we were not going to make that deadline, we could negotiate what the terms of that was. The problem of it is that, and why they do that, because they rent that facility for other events and they've got to have time to prep for those events. That's the reason the clause is in there, in case people don't get out of there in time, was the explanation we were always given. So it was mindful to be respectful, to make sure that you are out of there. And we always were. So it was kind of a mute issue, but that's the reason that that clause is in there.
Thank you so much. Rick?
no, I was just going to say, it was never brought to my attention that that was in any of our contracts, but David wasn't looking over those at that time. I feel certain we will be out. I don't see it as an issue.
Great, thank you. And sorry, I need to welcome Jan to the meeting. She came on after we got started. So Jan, just to kind of catch you up, we've got I'm not sure exactly at what point you came in. We have a
I
motion
did
on
hear the
floor.
motion and some of the
Okay.
discussion, so I'm
Okay.
good.
Okay.
And I had nothing to add on.
Great. Thank you. I was trying to give you an opportunity. Okay. With no further discussion, the motion on the floor to send a $5,000 deposit to secure Greeley, Colorado for the 2026 Nationals. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. All right, now we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the 2024 contract revision for Grand Island, Nebraska. Rick, this is also your item.
Okay, and once again, this contract, I believe, came in during your absence out of the country. So I took the liberty to send it on to David. And I know Jillian has a whole lot more information and is more in touch with this than I probably was. So I would kind of like to, go around, get everybody's advice. But, Jillian probably can answer some questions better than I can.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's just do that. Okay, Donna.
Okay, now the food vending is a
Yes.
concern. So that was the thing that really jumped out at me. Like that just isn't going to be enough. And I think someone had commented on there, even the mechanics of trying to get lunches for everybody. Like it just we need to be there needs to be able to be more available to us. That would be my biggest concern.
Did you guys see the email that I forwarded to the board? Which was an email from the show chair that was crafted in response to the show committee questions. Did you guys have a chance to read that? Because the show committee had very similar concerns as the board. Did you guys happen to see that? If not, I'm happy to read excerpts from it.
I did not. I don't believe I saw that, Jillian.
Okay,
Sorry.
let me just read some excerpts from it. I don't want to be, reading someone's email specifically. It says there will be a food truck at the Stock Dog area. It will be rotated so that the food choices are not always the same. That's in terms of food. It says there will also be a food truck close to agility, rally, and obedience, scent detection, trial, and dock jumping. The facility has a large concession stand at the Pinnacle Bank building where confirmation, vendors, and photos are. I have stressed to them the importance of a variety of foods. They sound like they offer several choices. Bringing your own food is not a problem. The venue in the contract is referring to the sale of food. They were talking about bringing food to sell. No items can be sold. Food items can be sold or any, retail without being a permitted vendor. Let me get a little more. There was a little bit more about food somewhere. There is also a new casino and restaurant on site that is there for your use. Now, I realize that a casino and a restaurant are not convenient to us while we are, actively trialing or showing. But it does appear that there will be ample food and ample food choices. There were 4 that she listed there. If the board has additional concerns about food, I'm happy to convey that to the show chair, but I believe this is about what we typically have.
Thank you, Jillian. That sounds much better than what it originally looked like, and being able to bring, the concern of not being able to bring our own food on. But that makes perfect sense that we just can't sell it. It doesn't
Right.
mean bring our own
And-
food and eat it.
I know in speaking with Jana personally that she has brought it up a couple of times that she's fully aware that people who are specifically in RVs, it's like bringing your house with you and you have your kitchen and you have your food and you're going to be cooking on site. That's part of the allure of having an RV. So it seems as though it's business as usual for us in terms of food. What I will say is we haven't gotten very far yet with anyone's questions, but in terms of alcohol, it is the same conceptually in terms of you can kind of bring what you would normally bring in an RV. They're asking that whomever has it off of their little pad area, if they take it off of there, if they will just conceal it out of respect for their regular food and drink vendors. So in other words, we don't, we want to put a koozie around our whatever 7-Up instead of Sprite. Maybe Sprite is their vendor of choice that supports them there. So they're just asking that we sort of just keep that sort of thing. I don't want to use the word concealed because that sounds so negative. But just, keep it discreet, I guess.
Thank you, Jillian. That's good information. And if I remember correctly, they are a Pepsi product entity.
Right.
So if you guys are drinking Coca-Cola, yes, pour it in a cup versus just having the cans hanging out. Okay, good. Thank you so much. Jody, do you have any concerns about 2024 revised contract?
I don't. The other issue that we talked about was the RV assignments, and I read the letter where they talked about that and understand what they're trying to do. I think it's going to be interesting, but I'm okay if they're okay.
Oh, great. Thank you. Anne.
Yes, I did read the letter from the chair, and the fact that there was the additional food truck down by the Agility Obedience Rally area that was additional, and so I think that alleviated some of my fears. I was the one who wrote that it was tough getting all the judges and workers and everything fed right during lunch, and it seems that the main concession stand in the main building is like really large. You may remember from Texas, it was one person. I mean, they had the help in the kitchen, but it was one person. So if it's something where it's a multi-window big concession stand, that will also help. So yeah, getting that from the chair did alleviate my concerns with that, and all the whole food just sounded bad in the contract, but they have been really good working with us. So it seems like it has all been taken care of. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much. Jillian, I'll come back to you at the end, please. Jerry.
So as you guys know, I joined Laura and Denise in Grand Island for that tour. And yes, all of those issues were discussed and worked out. And it is going to be very nice and very convenient. It is, most of you know, you've been there, and it is a nice facility. And they will have all of that food there, and areas where food can be consumed as well is, enclosed, so that people don't have to eat outside, even if they don't want to be in the building of like confirmation. There's another seating area on the back side, so they don't have to sit in the inside of the confirmation building, the way that is laid out. So that was extremely nice. And then the buildings being right next to each other, I found would be very convenient as well. So with the layout as it is, yes, it's a large facility. it's going to have its challenges, but we have a lot of things going on. So it's always going to have its challenges, but I think it will be good. And they are very excited to have us there. So I don't have any issues with the contract.
Great, thank you. Jan?
I think everybody has made comments that I was going to make. I did read the report from the chair. It was very detailed, and I really appreciate her work in putting that together. And I have no issues with the contract. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, I didn't see anything other than what's already been addressed as well. I'm glad to see that we have some answers to some of our concerns. Jillian, I'm gonna come back to you to see if you have anything in summation.
I just want to confirm that both your and David Schleicher's revisions were included. I just want to clarify that. Is that correct?
Everything that I saw had seen previously is now included in the revisions. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that's great. I think everything is thumbs up. I'm grateful to finally have this document, and I'd love to get it signed.
Yes, ma'am. We'll get that, most skosh. Thank you.
Hey,
Okay.
Susan.
Yes,
Susan,
sir.
one addition, David did request that his email address be corrected on the
Yes.
contract.
I
So
remember
if we
seeing
could-
that as well.
If
Yes,
we
sir.
can make that happen, that'd be great.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for that reminder. I did see that. And we will make sure that that gets taken care of before the final contract is signed. All righty. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. All right. Jody, you ready for the financials, please?
Okay, thank you. Let's start with balances. In our operating checking account, we have $144,782. In our savings account, we have $75,805. In our AEMD savings account, we have $49,236. And in the foundation, we have $41,337. For the April P&L, there were a couple of items that I'd like to bring to your attention, and one of them was the Stock Dog fundraiser. That was the witch book that was done, and we have $2,840 going towards Stock Dog prizes, I believe is what that's earmarked for. Excuse me. There was also a charge in there for $39.05. That is for the payment service for our IT consultant that we've hired. That's a yearly fee. And so we won't see that again, but that's what that was for. There also showed a credit for $4,200 in the P&L, and that was a credit from the company that we were going to use for the payment service for the IT consultant, but decided against it, and they refunded our money in April. There was a large hit to the printing this month for the office. They got their forms, etc. So it all hit in this particular month. So that was the only other thing that was a little out of the norm. If we look at our AEMD fees for the 2023-2024 show year, we should have collected $72,691.50. Currently in our savings, as I mentioned, we have $49,236. I also included for the board to see a year-to-date comparison. I was looking it over, and my numbers for each month have matched the P&L. But when it's put together in this format, I'm off by about $3,400, and I was unable to figure out why. I'll need to talk to Tim about that just to make sure the months all match. And so I don't know if they've updated something in the past that I didn't see. So I'll be working with him on that to make sure that that year-to-date comparison is matching. As for 2023, I don't have those numbers, but for 2024, we shouldn't have much trouble, and we'll be able to find that. Shoot. There was something I didn't write down. We still do not have financials for 2023. The last time I talked to Tim about this was that his goal was to finish the April numbers for us, and then he was going to concentrate everything on getting the Nationals account up to speed, because that is in fact what is holding us up. So once that is done, we'll be able to look at the 2023 numbers. I've not received an update from him, sorry, our bookkeeper, on where he is in that process. But that is where, that is what is still holding up 2023. However, we do have an extension that was automatically filed. So for tax purposes, we don't have any issues there. The last thing I wanted to bring up was the Vanguard accounts. I sent an email to everybody. And as I mentioned in my email, I've had a great deal of difficulty setting these Vanguard accounts up. And I'm asking the board to reconsider maintaining those accounts at Vanguard. They still are not fully functioning. Their requirement to set up a link to the bank account will take another 2 to 3 weeks minimum to get it done. And so, and that's just a guess, because I'm not sure the hassle that we're going to have to go through to get that done. I am asking that we open up the accounts at my firm. It is Thursday. I would be able to have those accounts open and linked to our bank accounts by the end of next Friday. And then we could actually start earning some money, which currently we're missing out on a minimum of $528 a month, given the numbers that we were going to move over to the accounts, or $6,300 a year by waiting on Vanguard again. I know that this brings up the potential for a conflict of interest. And so I printed off a couple things that I just wanted to mention per the policy for conflict of interest, and mention a couple things. An actual or potential conflict of interest occurs when a director, officer, volunteer, or employee is in a position to influence a decision that may result in a personal gain for the director, officer, employee. I'd like to address that. As I've mentioned before, I cannot do anything with these accounts or influence a decision without, one, the board, but two, the office manager and the president, whoever that is at the time or whatever. So I wanted to make sure that that was brought up. It also says, however, if a director, et cetera, has a relationship with an outside organization and has any influence on transactions involving purchases, contracts, leases, making this must be disclosed so safeguards can be established to protect all parties, which I think is the important part right here. I can do nothing in the account without Sarah and Susan being told about what's happened. I can't move money. I can't withdraw money. I can't pull in money. I can't buy anything, sell anything without anything being known by Sarah and Susan at this time. In addition, I receive no benefit from this account. It will be under my compliance officer. She will be the quote unquote broker of the account. So I receive nothing. The fees for it are the exact same as Vanguard. Then the other thing I wanted to mention is to go along with safeguards, that we can also post statements on the website, just like the financials that we do. We can post statements so it's clearly visible to all members and they have access to the information. But most importantly with my firm is you're actually going to be able to call and speak to somebody on the same day. And you don't have to push 0 to get to somebody. And customer service, when we're going to need to make changes on a yearly basis, as the treasurer changes, the president changes, etc., that customer service is going to be needed. So I'm questioning whether or not the board will allow me to make a motion to go forward with that.
So in this case, if you are prepared to make the motion, go ahead and make the motion, and then if it will let things roll like they can.
Okay.
Okay.
I move to open 3 accounts with Buttonwood Partners in order to earn interest on ASCA savings account. The Vanguard accounts would be closed.
I'll
Do I have a
second.
second? Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. I apologize. We have a motion on the floor to open 3 separate accounts at Buttonwood. Jody, can you give me, is it Buttonwood Financial Services, or what's the?
It's Buttonwood
Full-
Partners.
Okay, thank you. All right. Buttonwood Partners to earn greater returns on our investments. Is that pretty much in a nutshell? Would you like to revise that in any way?
I do not. That's fine.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the motion is by Jody and the second is by Jillian. Let's go around and see what everybody has to say about this. Rick, do you have any concerns on this situation?
Yes, I think that I have voiced my opinion on this before.
Okay.
It still is a conflict of interest. There is a perception of a conflict of interest. Whether the maker of the motion feels there is or isn't, there's that perception with the membership. Once again, we are making a decision without going to the membership. This is their money. They should have a right to chime in on this. We just keep doing this, and keep doing this. We need to correct the way we conduct business with the membership. And once again, this just shows we're not willing to listen to them. So my opinion, huge conflict of interest, huge perception to the membership. And once again, we are not allowing the membership to voice their opinion on this. So that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Donna?
So, Jody, do I understand correctly that there is no financial gain for you? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So it does check all the boxes, it sounds like. I will have to agree with Rick on the perception part, like how it looks. I do love the idea of having it up in the portal, the statements each month, so that the membership has access to that and can see that. And maybe, I mean, what do you think about putting this to the membership before we make a decision and vote on it and get membership input? It does sound like it is a better option for us. I mean, customer service these days is very difficult to find anywhere. The checks and balances of having the 3 people, and then, like you said, with the rollover and the changes, being able to get a hold of somebody and make those changes, I think is important. But I kind of like the idea of taking it to the membership and getting their input to see if, you know, how they feel about it. I do like that idea.
Thank you, Donna. Anne.
Haven't we made an announcement and told the membership that we were looking into creating these like savings accounts to get a return on our money, correct? Because this was a little while ago, right?
I believe it was, I announced it in one of my treasurer's reports several months ago, yes.
Right, that you were looking into it, that we might as well make money with this. And then that's, I do kind of remember now, because that's when I asked about how liquid it was
Yep.
in terms of transferring money back and forth. And so money market accounts are fairly liquid. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you doing the due diligence in investigating the conflict of interest, and I appreciate your investigating the different accounts to begin with. But I do think maybe just making an announcement kind of to that effect, saying here's this, we want to do the savings account. We picked Vanguard as a nationally recognized, and the fees made, however, and outline, like bullet point, the problems you encountered, and then bullet point with everything that you just said, because not everyone listens to the meetings. The advantages and how it follows all the rules, and just make that, have it, make that announcement, have it like as an announcement, and just see what kind of feedback we get, and then we can certainly vote on it as a random motion, even though admittingly it would delay it slightly and we're not making the money we should, but I think that's probably the best way to go. Thanks.
Thanks, Anne.
Can you swing back to me at the end?
Yes, ma'am, that was my plan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jody. Okay, Jillian.
Well, I guess here's my question. We all agreed to get these accounts set up in some fashion. I struggle with the notion of needing, in that regard, needing some kind of like, I'm confused as to when we just voted on a contract. So I'm confused as to what needs to go to the membership, because we didn't ask the membership for feedback on that. So my question is, Jody expressed her frustration about a week ago and very few people commented. She's frustrated. So my question is there somebody on the board that would like to take this over? Because Jody's trying to get money in the bank for ASCA, and it seems to be somewhat concerning to some board members. So is there someone else that's willing to take on this task? That is my question for every board member here.
Thanks, Jillian. My statement on that would be, as the treasurer, it would fall under the auspices of Jody's responsibilities as a treasurer. And I will say more at the end. Do you have, and I'm not blowing you off, but everybody else has a chance to speak to that. And then we'll circle back to me just before Jody gets to her last chance. Was there anything else that you had that you wanted to say on this particular topic at this moment?
No, I just want to know, maybe someone can step in and help her because she's frustrated and we're missing out on money. Either that, or let's just table it and let's wait till after the election because there'll be another treasurer. It is really frustrating to me how long it takes us as a board to get things done, and I totally respect requesting membership input. I respect that. But it's to the point where if this is a conflict of interest and we feel that the membership is going to take this badly, then let's not do it. And is someone willing to take on this task because Jody can't and earn some money? If not, we can table it and we'll just see if Jody gets elected or not. If she doesn't get elected, we'll use her firm. It just becomes really frustrating, at least from my perspective, when I'm working around the clock trying to get things done in time for the board meeting or during the week or fielding phone calls. I'm not alone. And then we can't move forward on topics. So I'm asking seriously, is someone willing to, I understand it's her responsibility, but she has reached out to the board for help. She's frustrated. Are we willing to give her our support, or is someone willing to take it over?
Point well taken. Is there anybody that's willing to step in and offer any assistance in this situation?
Susan, it's Jerry. I can assist Jody in that realm. This is work that I do in my career, so I can assist Jody with that if she needs help.
Jerry, thank you so much. And you are next up to speak. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, I do agree with that. It needs to take to the membership, but I would say that it needs to have a deadline date put on it for their comment period. And I do appreciate Jillian's frustration with that as well, that it's taking time. But matters like this, unfortunately, do take time when you have board meetings once a month. And it does seem like those things do not get done as quickly as you can. But when you are dealing with matters of membership versus the public sector versus the private sector, it does operate different. And it does get frustrating. But I would like to see it go to the membership, but I would like to see a deadline date put on it. I don't think it needs to be open-ended.
Okay, thank you so much for your comments. Jan?
I also feel that we need to take it to a random vote and have all those regular cycle on it. I understand Jillian's frustration. It frustrates me as well. However, we get less. It's just better to go out to the membership, get their views, make sure we're doing the right thing for the whole membership. And so the random voting cycle already has a timing on it. That's why I proposed it, is we should only be doing things that are confidential, time sensitive, things that have already been presented, that the membership knows we are doing contracts for an event that they're planning to attend in a few months. So I believe this is one of those things that we just need to take the time and have membership input. And there could be somebody out there that could also assist. And thanks, Jerry, for putting that. And Jody, I do really appreciate all your time. And now that we have money to be put in that position, that you're spun your wheels. And so thank you very much.
Thank you, Jan. Okay, I am going to disagree with most of what has been said. This is a business responsibility that we, as the board of directors, are in charge of. I cannot even begin to imagine that 12 years ago, when it was time to invest with our previous investment company, that was something that we took to the membership. It's almost, for me, it's the same vein as asking the membership how much of an increase or not any employee should have. And that is on the same lines for me. This is a business transaction. So be it that it's a firm that Jody is connected to. She will have no benefits from this. Vanguard definitely has dropped the ball with offering any kind of assistance to get these accounts up and rolling. Jody has been working tirelessly on this topic for at least 3 months. And so I will make my statement, and we will go forward from there. Jody, thank you.
Just a follow up. I understand the pressure that we're under in regards to membership comments and having the membership involved. I agree with Susan. This is a business decision. But more importantly, how are you going to put it out to the membership to get their feedback? Are we going to put it on Facebook? Are we going to put it on the members IO and have the same 15 people? That's not the membership. We've got 6,000 people. So are we going to have all of our decisions dictated by the member IO group or Facebook, or are we going to do a poll? And how do we write it if we do that? I mean, those are some of my questions, that we get a fair representation from the membership and their comments, and how do we go about doing that? Because right now, I don't think that there is an effective way to do that we get all membership feedback. And so those are my comments.
Thank you, Jody. Jillian, you've got your hand up.
So I guess I feel like I totally hear where everybody's coming from. And I mean, down the line on the agenda, I have asked to talk about the way we communicate with the membership so that we can become more relevant, like we understand their views more and give some methodology to communicating differently. There is a lot of value in that. My question now is really this, and I don't know that I asked my question clearly. If the majority of the board, which it sounds like, thinks this should go to the membership, and really the question is not, should we set up the accounts? We've already agreed to do that. I can't imagine one single member saying that that's a bad idea. But maybe there's out there. The question really is, if the board thinks that having Jody's firm move forward with this is a perceived impropriety, then the board can say, no, Jody, we want to use a different firm as we originally agreed upon. I believe that is a more productive use of this conversation than it is throwing it to the membership if the majority of you are concerned that it looks like an impropriety. I would rather see us do that than throw something to the membership that you think looks dicey. That's my 2 cents. That's something that we can do and we can decide today. The reason I asked if somebody is willing to help is we would then need to seek out other companies, or maybe Jerry's willing to help see it through with Vanguard.
Thanks, Jillian. Rick?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Jill just said. My reasoning for sending to the membership has nothing to do with the investment part. Yes, that's a good business decision. I agree, Susan. This is something that the board needs to decide. But when we start talking about using the membership's money to go into accounts that are ran by a sitting director, that's where I think the membership needs to be chimed in on. I agree. We need to do something. We're leaving money sitting on the table. We could be investing, and I am all for moving forward with that today with a different company. I'm just not okay with agreeing to use Jody's company tonight without membership input. I trust Jody with everything I've had. I mean, that's not the issue. The issue is there's a perception, and I would definitely move forward with another company because I think it's a smart business decision to start collecting some of these monies that are just sitting on the table right now in a non-bearing account. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry.
So I will say that I will contact Jody, and Jody, if you are in agreement, we can you can give me the accounts and the dollar amount you are looking at, and we can the interest rate that you had sent out to us, we can take that forward to negotiate, and I will send that out to a couple of investment firms that I know of at this time, and we'll bring that back, send it out, that information out to the board, and I would think that we could have that to the board for a decision at the June board meeting, if that is acceptable.
Jerry, thank you for that very much. Where we're at right now is the accounts with Vanguard are open. They're open. What we need to do now is get them linked to the bank account. And what they want us to do is go back to Chase to get their written signatures on a document that says we can link the accounts. So it's not that it's Vanguard is going to be, it's fine. Vanguard is going to be fine. They have a very good interest rate. They have CDs available. If we do want to eventually start investing, they do have access to a ton of mutual funds. So Vanguard, we can move forward with. It's fine if that's what the board wants to do, but it's going to be another 2 to 3 weeks before we can even move forward. And that's fine. And going forward, customer service is going to be horrible. And that's okay if that's what the board wants. But that's where we're at. And if in the future we want to look at something, or if I don't get voted on and we want to open accounts with Buttonwood, then we can do that too and make it easier. But for now, it's just linking the accounts, which will take about another month to do so. Thank you.
So I just
Thanks,
have
Jody.
one question, Susan, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead, Jerry.
Can I ask why it's taking so long to link the accounts?
They are requiring us to send a document to Chase on their letterhead. So we have to contact our personal banker. I have to talk to Vanguard again to get the document. I spent an hour on the phone with them last week to figure out why I couldn't link. And they never got back to me about anything about how to go about doing it. In researching it, it takes a form. So now I got to call the banker at Chase and try and get a hold of him and give him the information and the document that he needs to sign. So then it has to be a wet signature, not a DocuSign signature. So then that all has to be done via mail. Then it has to be uploaded to Vanguard. Then they take another week to make it actually, because customer service. And then it takes 7 to 10 business days to link account and for it to go live. So that's kind of the timing.
So one of the
Thanks.
other questions I have is, since I'm not on the account, while I offered to help Jody, I can tell you they're probably not going to be willing to talk with me because I'm not on this account.
Exactly. So that's just what needs that's what needs to be done. But that's where we're at.
Okay, so Anne, I see your hand up. Just a second here. Jody, would it behoove us in any way for Jerry to do research with other firms in hopes that it would streamline the process better than what you have information you've received from Vanguard?
Well, two things. One, let's wait until after the election to see. I mean, one, let's wait now. If I don't get voted on, Buttonwood is a great option for ASCA. It's a great option for ASCA. Two, some of the larger firms, like you guys were with, I forgot who you were with before, but these
Raymond
bigger
James.
firms, Raymond James, it's all going to be the same. So unless we get a little, a little private investment brokerage firm that can offer the rates that Buttonwood and Vanguard can, it's going to be the same thing. Then we have to go through the whole thing of setting all the documents up and setting up the accounts, and that kind of, that's where we're at with that.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Anne?
Yeah, I'm kind of two minds on this, that on the one hand, that we have the Vanguard, and even with all the hoops that we have to jump through, if we're going to go and do something completely different, it would take longer than if we just stayed and stuck it out with Vanguard. So that's the one thing that I'm thinking. And then the other thing is that I feel personally that Jody has fully disclosed and done her due diligence, and from all of the rules that we have to abide by for conflict of interest, I think she has provided answers to all that. And then on my other hand, I would not have a problem making a random schedule motion that we are going to invest with Buttonwood, outlining all of the steps and how Jody is following the rules, and it's not a conflict of interest, but that motion would be sent out as a random schedule motion and therefore published to the general membership. So those are like my two thoughts. Make the motion that we go with Buttonwood with all the disclosure that it is not a conflict and it's published to the membership, or we just stick it out with Vanguard, because anything we do for any other company, we'd have to start from square one. And if we stick it out, we'll probably get there sooner, even though it's been torture to get there. So that's my feelings.
Okay, so everyone's had a chance to speak. And at this
Susan,
point, yes,
Susan,
ma'am, Donna.
This is Donna. I'm sorry. I cannot find my hand on my phone. So I think that, what keeps coming up is that, I think we all agree that, we may not all agree. I shouldn't say that. I think a lot of us think that going with Jody's firm would be the best thing. And I think the concern is, we keep saying, is the membership, is it going to be perceived as a conflict of interest? She's laid it all out. It's checked all the boxes that it's not a conflict of interest, but we're guessing at how the membership is going to perceive that. And so I think having it go to the membership, go out there, so that we can, how do we know how they're going to perceive it unless they get to tell us? Like we're going to guess. We're going to think they're going to perceive it that way, or we're going to think they're not. And then we find out they do. So I think just, having it go out so that they do get to see, here's the benefits and here's why it's not a conflict of interest, and get that membership feedback. And then we know how they perceive it instead of having to guess on that. Just my thoughts.
Donna, do you mean putting it out there through a random motion like Anne mentioned, or putting it out to clarify first?
I don't I don't know that I'm attached to which way it goes out. Although, so then you put it out as a motion, then we have to rescind it. And we seem to do that a lot. And that just seems very wishy-washy to me. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to poll the membership or anything like that, but to get membership feedback on this is the thought process. And because I don't feel like it's a conflict of interest when I sit down and look, like you've checked all the boxes. But if that's how it's perceived and that's how the membership perceives it, then I believe that we shouldn't go that direction. And without membership feedback, we don't really know what is the best direction to go, in my opinion.
Okay, so I have a proposal. What if this motion on the floor is submitted as a random cycle motion? That way the membership has an opportunity to comment on it, and then we bring it to a vote after we've had an opportunity to allow the membership to speak their opinions on it.
I think that would be good. I do think we should make sure it spells out in there. Like, I think they need all the details. I think they need all of the information to make their decision. And, you know, all the stuff that Jody just said to us, I think needs to be in that so that it's very clear why we would like to go with this company and what are the benefits and why it's not a conflict of interest, even though she is part of that company.
Right. Okay. So if we put it out there as a random motion, there's a 10-day comment period before we actually have the vote called for on it. Would you guys be agreeable to that?
I think I'd like to hear Rick's response to that first.
Yeah, I'm on, excuse me, I'm all on board with that. The membership has the opportunity to voice their opinion, and us as voting directors can base our vote off of their feedback. So I would not have a problem with that at all. Good suggestion, I feel.
Yes, that was my recommendation, is it goes in the random voting cycle. This is Jan.
Okay.
Susan,
Yes,
are
ma'am.
you all right if I work with Calla to actually expand upon the motion that we will table for now that I just introduced, to make sure that we get all of the information listed in the motion?
I support that. Let's do it this way. Does anyone not support Jody working with Calla to give all of the intricate details of this motion before it is posted as a random scheduled motion? Is there anyone that does not support that? Okay, I think we are good to go. So, let me think
So-
about this. You need to recall the motion. Since
Do
you
I
made it.
recall it, or do I want to recall it or table it for further wording to be included?
Withdraw it.
Okay. I move to withdraw my motion for rewording purposes.
Perfect. We have to have a second. I'll second. Okay. All those in favor of withdrawing the motion initially made tonight? No motion needed. Jody just withdraws. Okay, good. We're good to go. All right. Thank you. Thanks for all your diligence and hard work on this. I'm sorry this has become such a large undertaking, for lack of a better term. Thank you, guys.
I need to make a motion for the treasurer's report.
Yes, you do.
I didn't want to forget this time. I move to accept the treasurer's report as reported.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I had a question on the
Aye.
treasurer's
Oh,
report.
I'm
Uh-oh.
sorry, Jan. I jumped the gun on that. Go ahead.
Because we're using the new accounting, some of the payroll is really listed differently. And it appears to be the same amount, but it appears like maybe in the future we're going to see less detail in the payroll. That whole section looks very different than it has looked in the past. They have the taxes and wages in a separate section and all the fees. And I just want some clarification. If you need to get back to me on that, that'd be great. But I'm not really sure why they're changing it so much and how that impacts the numbers that we're seeing. That was all. Thank you.
Jan, I'll clarify. When I talked to Tim in January, if you look at the P&L, it says payroll and then it says actual payroll, processing fee, taxes, etc. I think they pay them not every month, but I will double check, and so that's why it's not showing up in the P&L in that section anyway. So I will double check with Tim because he's doing the coding, because you're right, it is different, and make sure I get a clarification on that.
Thank you.
You bet.
Let me just weigh in really quick because I think I have the answer to the question. So
Okay.
we went to payroll online through QuickBooks in the beginning of the year, but there was some residual carryover. So wages from 2023, which were payable in 2024. So we have, this is a two system sort of thing that you're seeing. QuickBooks payroll automatically codes everything. So all of the payroll tax payouts where you see like FICA and SDI and so on, we don't code that. Payroll through QuickBooks automatically codes it and it hits our P&L. So you'll notice that's moving forward when you start looking at the more current months, that is how it's going to report. So I believe, because I had the same question in January, Jan, and then I remembered that we started payroll in January. So you're kind of seeing like both. I believe that's the case.
I think you might be right, Jillian, because there was some carryover from the ADP system into January.
But if that's the case and they're going to use the payroll expenses, the lower one going forward, that's less information than the higher one. So that's why I was asking the question, because I know that QuickBooks is now doing it through that program. I still would like to see the breakdown that we currently have being shown and not lose that data just for knowledge base.
I can ask him if he can break that out.
All righty, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jan. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Thank you. Okay. A motion on the floor to accept the treasurer's report as reported. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Moving right along. Number 5 on the agenda tonight is our business plan, which was added from the spring meeting, and that is in the Google Drive. So let me get there too. And it is number 5 in the Google Drive tonight. I know that there are some edits, comments made. Has everyone had an opportunity to kind of look at this and see what might need to be addressed and changed. So we don't have anyone particularly assigned to this. Unlike the strategic plan, which was also on there for later. And thanks for your comments on there. I actually had a couple of things also. Kala also had some things on there. If everybody can kind of take a look at that. And see if anybody has any comments they would like to make tonight. I did add a couple of a little bit on there today. Particularly in section 1.7.2, where it addresses the executive director. And my comment was, until we arrive at a time when we actually have an executive director, should we strike this section? So that is definitely up for discussion.
I have a question, Susan. This is Donna.
Yes.
Are we just reviewing sections 1 to 1.2.7 per Cala's breakdown?
Okay, that would be good. I missed that piece. Okay.
So yeah, she had it broken down to do just a section in May, one in June,
Sweet.
July, August, September, and then a full review in October.
Perfect.
In little digestible pieces.
Yes, and that's, I think that is a very good idea. And I remember that we definitely did that. Okay, so
I asked this is Jan, I asked in the group, who was gonna get the data for this historical information. Some of it is from Sarah, or who's gonna be responsible for this document. There's highlighted areas and the comments are all good, but how are we gonna reconcile each of these sections?
Can I make a suggestion?
yes, please, Jody.
Can we assign each section that Cal has broken out to one director to do the preliminary breakdown, and then everybody reviews it for that section?
I think that's a really good way to approach this, because it's kind of like eating an elephant. We need to do this one bite at a time. And you seem to have made the most comments on this first section. So yeah, and I agree with you. Hasn't this already been done? There are lots of things in here that have already been addressed, and some of the things that still need to be addressed. So, okay. Good. All right. So, Anne, do you want to address this first section, since you seem to, and maybe I don't think we assigned anybody. Am I wrong?
No, we didn't. I think because it was such a huge thing, it was like it was ridiculous to say, okay, here's this business plan, and let's get it all done by October when there's all these sessions. So that, as you said, is just like a huge thing, and it would never happen. So Cala broke it up by sections, and basically all of us. So instead of just one person working on it, because I feel like the different sections, like if I were to be assigned a section, I would want to look through all of the sections and say, oh, I think I would be best to talk about this. Whereas there were other sections I have no idea about this, and I would not want to be responsible for that. But I think the way Cala broke it up is that all of us, all 9 of us, have 1 month to comment on this section. So we get everybody's input, and then so we have everybody's input in each section, what everybody
2.7.
wants to write. And then I think there was even like an extra month in there that then we put everything together. So it's like, so we have everyone doing input on every section, and some people may have more input because that's where their expertise, and some may not. I also noticed that the way that it goes through, there are some parts that are, I won't say completely, but quote unquote completely written, and then there are some parts where there's just nothing, and we're starting from scratch.
Right.
So there are things to be done, and yes, I don't think I made necessarily that many substantive, is that the word, suggestions, maybe a few, but I think now that we have supposed to have looked at it and everything, I think the way that Calla broke up the sections, that gives everybody an opportunity, and she has it set up as suggestions. I mean, it gives everybody an opportunity to go and do that. And also, since it's in the Google Drive, everybody can download it onto their computer and start typing away whatever they want. And then, and as their own edit and add stuff and whatever, and then send it back up. So there's a ways that everyone can contribute to each of the sections. And so I think having it as a group project where everyone has to contribute, speaking in my teacher voice, is a good way to go about it. And I think that we can get through it if we work on it together.
Okay, so let's just go through this document up to 1.2.7 this evening. The first thing that I show is that Anne added the word breed at the beginning or at the middle of the sentence that is when under the description of ASCA. National Registry for the Australian Shepherd breed. Does everybody agree that that needs to be in there, or does anyone feel that that's unnecessary with the secondary purpose of sponsoring competitive sporting events for the breed? I think it's redundant to have it in both places. Maybe Australian Shepherd is all encompassing as far as I'm concerned. That's just my opinion. Anybody else have any?
These are suggestions. It wasn't like,
Right.
oh, it has to be here. Just when I read it, I'm like, it's like, okay, this is like official, if like business have it. Do we need to tell someone that it's actually a breed of dog? I mean, so I was just trying to be.
I would say that in being as it's so close in that first sentence, I'm not sure that it's necessary after the Australian Shepherd. That would be my take. So
I would agree. If you're going to put
okay.
breed there, you would want to take off for the breed at the end.
Okay. And
like
I
it would
think
be in one place or the other.
Seems to read better the way it was, I personally think. So I don't see anything in the second paragraph. Moving down to the third paragraph, I don't know, C's. I do like the word located throughout the world instead of spread throughout the world. I think that just sounds more professional. I love that the history is there in that. Yes, and I think there's probably going to be quite a few people that are unfamiliar with IASA. I will raise my hand on that one. Anybody want to say what IASA is? Australian Shepherd Association, but what's the I stand for? Everybody see
Hello?
where I am? Yes.
Calla says it's the International Australian Shepherd Association.
Okay, good. Okay, so I don't have, okay. So can we,
I can talk if it's brief.
let's spell that out.
Okay, did you find a place?
Hey, Jillian, you're not muted.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Okay, so let's put that International Australian Shepherd Association approved in 2006 bylaws. It was seriously okay. we were most recently amended on the bylaws in 2000. That seems crazy. And then definitely finding the right year that our bylaws are established. I think that would be important. I feel like I'm kind of rushing through this, but I think that may be
No,
what we need to do.
I agree that needs to be updated. I'm sure that
Okay.
was not the most recent.
Yeah. Okay. Jody, you've got your cursor there. Okay. In section paragraph E, 1.2.1, paragraph E, encourage and promote sanctioned matches, especially shows, working in obedience trials, tracking, tests, trials, and any other such event. So I guess my thought was maybe we shouldn't have any programs there, because if we continue to change and if we're going to add any additional programs, we need either that, or we're going to make this a working document where every time we add a program, we come back and change that. If we choose to list every competitive area that we offer, I would be okay with that, making sure that we continue this as a working document and keep it current with whatever programs we offer.
Susan, technically it is the business plan for ASCA, so it should be a working document.
Yes, ma'am, I agree. So do we want to specify what competitive areas we offer instead of this? It seems kind of vague to me.
I like the idea of listing all of the programs in there, like having everything listed and just update it as we add more.
I like that idea also. Okay, so, Calla, have you got that one working there? Or Anne at least made the comment to add all the programs, and I think we just list them correctly. All righty. Do we need more here in sections 1, 2, 2, 3, detail procedure plan? Thoughts on this? Anne's comment, do we need more here? Do we,
This is Jan. It seems like some of this does fall under the strategic plans and the things that we're working with and nationals. And hopefully improving our communications could be in this as well. Thanks.
you? How would you like to word that, Jan? Or does that belong in this document or in the strategic plan?
Maybe almost in the, because it's not even referred to in the purpose A through H as an important document, but it does kind of fall into this 1.2.2 and 1.2.3. So maybe I'm almost thinking of I don't know where to put it. I like it that it's bullet points and it's short. I want to say like a header, the involvement of it, because we work with all the committees and we work with everybody to produce that report. And it's constantly a living document. So hopefully somebody has a suggestion. Calla.
Okay, so potentially under the operations support functions would not only be that controls and oversight, but something to the effect of ongoing communication with affiliate clubs on their activities. I'm not saying that that's what it needs to be, but something, am I understanding you that that's what you want it directed more to the membership in general? Or do you want that communication to be via the affiliate clubs? Jan?
Sorry,
Anybody?
button. All of the above. It's not just, I mean, communication from what we need from the affiliates is just as important as the communication with every one of our members or even our service members, making sure that we're reaching all those people. And this section seems to be that information. It's kind of laid out in that, but how the functionality is going to happen is going to be in that strategic plan. And maybe this information is good enough.
Okay, so if, at least if we have some bullet points off to the side and some comments off to the side, it'll make sure that we go back and address those things. So I'm just going to leave that over there for now, the communication with membership and affiliate clubs. And then we can make sure that we go back and refine that and add it to the proper site within the document. Okay. In the business model and larger font in the diagram, yes, add dock jumping and scent detection. Because the way this document is represented, it makes it really difficult to read, and I couldn't tell you what any of those words are in any of those boxes. So I think that that's like a font and a an edit function right there that may need to be readdressed there. Okay, let's move down. This section should, okay. Calla says this section should describe how ASCA operates financially. And Calla, by that, do you mean the foundation should be included in there also, as well as any of the proceeds? Just what exactly were you looking at there, please, ma'am?
If I can say something to that, or Cal, because I'm thinking, I think is that it says business model, yet it just has this picture. The business model is that we get income from people registering their Australian Shepherd dogs, and we get income from hosting, having individuals, clubs host shows and trials, and we get income from like the results from that. And we as we're saying, it's like so that's the business model. Just this picture on with this comes in, it's like saying, it's like what is our business, where
This
do we
is
get our
on,
income, and
right.
what are our expenses?
This is almost an org chart situation for me on this flow chart. It looks more like an org chart to me than a financial
Then let's rename it
operation.
that. Then let's rename the chart.
Well, I
Well,
think the
let's see if
chart
we
is
can
probably
read
good
the,
there. The
yes.
chart's probably good there. And I made a comment that I was going to ask Sarah if she could help to redo this in Adobe
Okay.
so it looks nicer and is more readable.
Okay. More
But if you
legible, that'd be great.
expand, yeah, if you expand that comment that I made about describing how ASCA operates financially, it goes into more detail about revenue streams,
Yes.
so the ways, cost structure, and the key resources. So
Good girl.
if we were to identify those things, then that would be a good place for this as subheadings.
I like it. Okay, so let's figure out a way to represent that. Okay. All right. I think that that's just going to require a little bit more work. I don't think that's something that we can nail down tonight. Do y'all agree? Because I think the edits and reformatting there are going to be more important than what we can generate right now, especially if Sarah's going to offer something from Adobe in there. So let's make sure that we, of course, come back and review that after it has been completed. Okay. Are there really only 132 affiliate clubs? Did anybody confirm that?
Yeah, I went and looked at the current list and it had 132 entries.
Good job, you. Thank you. Maintain strong relationship. Yes, I think that that's pretty right on the money right there. Okay, our SWOT analysis. We still have the designation of the largest single breed registry. Or do we have any factual information on that? I'm loving that our numbers are there. That is definitely, attainable there. Comparative, comparable. Yeah, probably comparable instead of the comparative. Okay. Our weaknesses, yeah, our financial stability. Thank you,
Susan,
Calla.
is the sanctioned average of 2,211 events per year, is that still accurate?
Yes, I got that information from Sarah. She actually gave me 10 years worth of sanctioning numbers, and then she averaged it down to that.
Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you, Calla.
Excellent. Okay. Hold on. Yes, agreed. Do we have any other? We might need to look at that. Are there any other weaknesses that we need to address in there? Because of course that single breed registry is going to be a double-edged sword. Okay, our opportunities, improving, okay, good. Increasing tense of verbs. Here we've got improving existing, creating new programs. Should we offer then increasing membership retention, increasing revenues, improving, keep them all in the same tense right there? And then to look, how would we even go about this? Of course, I was over there last week. How do we petition the FCI to recognize ASCA registry? And then I wasn't really sure what this last bullet point, expanding stock dog and agility programs beyond the United States. Does anybody know what that really was meant to address?
Well, was that in there before we had programs in other countries?
Remember, this was originally written in 2010. So.
And it hasn't been touched in that length of time.
At least that bullet point hasn't.
So I think that probably we could just delete that bullet point. Do you guys agree? And by the way, Rick lost internet due to the storms. Texas is just really stormy today. So Rick's no longer with us on the call. Unless he was able to call back in. Hey, Rick, you're back.
I'm back on with my phone, so.
Okay, good.
Sorry.
That was just what I was going to say. No, understood. Storms have been crazy today. So I don't know if you're able to see the screen where we're looking at that on the business plan. We have a bullet point here that addresses expanding stock dog and agility programs beyond the United States. And the last time this document was considered was 2010. So I think potentially that bullet point may be able to be deleted. Do you have any knowledge on that?
I don't, but I kind of agree with you that I feel like that we could delete it, and if it comes back to bite us and we need to put it back in, we can.
Okay, yeah, I think it's probably already been done, and that was the comment over there that hasn't this already been done. Okay, and then moving down to the threats, increased activity fees, membership reductions, reduced number of sanctioned events, reduced income, reduced program activity, and lack of strategic planning. I personally, I think that those are all well delineated. And I think that that sums up our threats pretty well. So that would be through the portion that we need to go through tonight. Okay.
Quick thing,
Calla.
Susan.
Wouldn't registry be involved with this? Some of those services and membership? Those aren't listed there. Are they listed somewhere else?
So
Thank
the,
you.
I don't
for the-
understand your question. Is
well, I
registry
think
is a
for
threat?
threats, that that reduced registrations, that if people don't register, and then also isn't reduced number of sanctioned events and reduced program activity, aren't those the same thing? Our programs are our sanctioned events.
Yes, however, you can have the same number of sanctioned events and have fewer participants. And would that not lend to the program activity?
Okay, yeah, I didn't see it that way, but yeah, I mean, I think what Jan was saying was, in terms of the threats, would be reduced number of registered dogs. I mean, like something, saying
Okay.
something like that.
Could we state it?
That's part of reduced income, though. I mean, you can mirror everything from programs to registry, or you can
Right.
have them inclusive, but reduced income is all inclusive.
That's true. And if you want to specifically state loss of income due to reduced number of registrations or something to that effect, I think it's probably going to be semantics as how it's stated. Okay, Calla, I have a question over here. You wrote, how would we go about doing this? And I'm not sure what that's in reference to. On the FCI recognition of the ASCA registry, yes?
Yes,
Okay, good. Thank you. I wanted to just
because I can
clarify
look
that.
into that. So I wrote a comment just as a note to look into that.
Okay, good. Thank you. I was like, oh, I'm not sure. I was trying to read your comments over here on the side and make sure that we were all good to go there. Okay, I don't want us to feel like we've just run through this, but also at the same, consideration of time, I feel like that we have at least addressed every portion of the sections that we were to cover tonight. Okay, Calla, refresh my memory as to which sections we're covering in June, please.
That would be 1.3 through 1.10.
Thank you. All right, guys, in your spare time, let's please try to at least look at some of those and offer any suggestions that we may have there. All right.
Susan, can I make a suggestion? So
Yes.
as we get further into this, like some of these sections have nothing.
Right.
I don't know that, like, my thought is maybe nobody else thinks this, but I don't know that it's possible to tackle them during one of our regular board meetings when we get to the
Agreed.
part where they're going to need a lot of work. I don't know, I mean, what a better solution is, but we may have to take some time outside of the meeting to come up with what we want in that section and then put it together and then maybe go over it in the meeting to tweak it or whatever. Just some thoughts.
I agree because I feel like this is not very efficient use of our time during this meeting time. So what I would like for us to do is try to, I mean, it's quite a bit of information that's on the docket for the next meeting. Can we try to break down maybe a couple of sections a week and handle them via email? So for next week, 1.3 to 1.5 is pretty straightforward. I've written a little bit of information over there on the 1.6 section, and that's just off the cuff. And I would like to go back and verify that that information is actually stated fully correctly. And you guys, please feel free to make any comments there. So the management section may be also pretty easy, so to speak, to handle. But I think after that, and especially where there's nothing, we need to get, and I can't swear to you that there is one, we need to get pretty much a job description for the office manager as to what those responsibilities are. And then the accounting and legal, we've already addressed the legal structure in 1.6.
Susan,
And
I
yet-
actually think your comment in 1.6 goes in 1.8.2.
Okay, good.
And that
Because
1.6 is actually like that we're governed by the bylaws. And
Okay.
that this is the role of the board of directors. And like the way
Perfect.
the association is governed, I think
Perfect,
is what they
Ann.
mean by legal structure. But then your stuff about the legal services, that's 1.8.2. And then I
Perfect.
also think we should flip flop when they have like personnel and it lists all the personnel. It says office manager and then it says personnel and list all the personnel.
Right.
Why don't we list all the personnel and then do the definition of the office manager? I don't know what we need to flip those two
Flip it.
sections, in my
I
opinion.
would agree. I would agree. Okay, so this is going to be an area that it's going to have to take some extra work. So could we agree to have can we break this down? Can we split our board in half and half of us work? We'll do that. This is not efficient use of our time. That is something that I would like to handle in an email after this meeting and split the board in half. And that way I think we can divide and conquer in a much more efficient manner. Anybody have any suggestions there?
It almost feels to me like we need separate meetings to just address this,
Yes, ma'am.
to do nothing but this. Like we need to really be able to put our time and energy into it and turn out a good product. So it
Agreed.
feels like that has to be its own thing.
I would
Right, but I
agree.
also feel we at least have to get working drafts going. We gotta get pen to paper, so to speak.
Okay. I'm hearing all of your comments and I appreciate them. Let us, do you guys agree that we can divide and conquer and half of us work on a couple of the sections and half of us work on the other half of the sections, and then we come back together in a meeting? How about potentially in 2 weeks on the 30th, we can come back together with a rough draft? Or we can try. And I'll send an email after we are done here. Does that
I
sound
think
like
that's
a
a good plan.
potential plan? Okay, that's what we're gonna try to divide and conquer and see if we can't make some more progress on this. All right, let us go to number 6, the Nationals Handbook. Okay, Jody, thank you. Rick.
Yeah, this all stemmed from, it was probably a year ago that the board asked Susan, or excuse me, asked the NAC, which is now the NAC liaison, for those guys to come up with a handbook. And that is what they have done. And thank you for all your attention to detail. You made a lot of great comments on that document, and it has been updated. I asked the NAC if we needed a motion on this, and they felt like this is just a working document that the board requested. So I am open. If we need a motion to approve, I'm willing to make that motion, but they didn't feel a motion was necessary. It's just a working document that the board had requested.
Okay, sounds good. Does anybody have any concerns or comments directly in relationship to the document? And it is out there for future chairs to refer to. And since it is a working document, it is definitely open for any kind of edits as they work through the situation. Okay. Rick, please extend our gratitude to the NAC for all of the work and the number of hours that were contributed to compiling this document.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okie doke. The next item on the agenda is the strategic plan assignments and review process. And we need to look at that and find a better way for us to get through these situations, these documents also. And I'm getting back there. Okay, strategic plan is open. Okay. So Donna, you worked so diligently with some help to get this document ready. What would be your suggestion on a better way to tackle this large project?
So I think that, I think, redoing it once a year is fine. But what I think we need to do is maybe at our spring meeting and our nationals meeting, although maybe we don't want to add things to those meetings. I don't know. But I just think it needs to be reviewed throughout the year, and make sure that we are actually doing the things that are on there, because that's kind of what it brought. It was Jan and Jody and I that were the subcommittee that was working on it. And what it really brought to our attention is there are things on there that we put on there, right? And they're what we want to do, and it's great. But then they kind of get dropped and fall through the cracks. So I think the thought process was, how can we be reviewing that? Tweaking it if it needs changes, but mostly just reviewing it and know, are we actually doing the things that are on there? The other thing that was really glaring was the committee goals. When we went to the committees, some of those had not been updated for years. So again, I think it's something that just kind of, gets done and then gets set to the side, and we're not actually paying attention and aware of, are we going forward and are we meeting those goals and doing those things that we want to be taking care of on there. So I am open to suggestions of how often we should do that, how we would approach that.
Okay, since the three of you were the ones that worked on it and you did either of the three of you have specific goals? And I see you just a second. Okay. Specific timelines as to what you thought might be a better discussion time frame and revision time frame. I know we talked about, seems to me we talked about, it seems to be it's at the last minute that it's always done. So do we need to request information be reviewed earlier in the year, say June and July versus October, when it's the time crunch? Because it's traditionally, please correct me if I'm wrong, been that it would be ready for review in December,
Yeah.
right?
It was December, and we did talk about that's not a good time of the year. You've got nationals right after nationals, then you've got Thanksgiving and Christmas and our big break. So yes, that was part of the discussion, is that time of the year is probably not a great time of the year to be working on a project that big.
Exactly. Okay, so I think that potentially this would be something that we could maybe work on in the summer months. And what would you like to say, please?
I agree, because I with what Donna said about the committees. I was as you were talking, I was scrolling through the top part to look at the responsible parties for each of the parts of the strategic plan. And it's primarily the board and the program committees. Well, we're the board, so we can figure our stuff out. But I'm thinking that, yes, I agree with Donna that liaisons like scrambling at the end of the year to try to get their committees to write something up, and then they look at it after they haven't looked at it after a year, and like, oh yeah, well, oh, I guess we do this. So I think maybe an initial starting point would be for the liaisons to go to their committees on the committee items twice a year. Then not just once a year when it's being redone, but twice a year. Maybe see with them, because I think a lot of times that they're like, here, okay, here's your committee part of the strategic plan. Update your committee part. Why are we not having the committees not read through the entire strategic plan to see what parts are for the program committees, to see what other parts? They're members of, if we took all the members of our committees, that's a chunk of very committed and involved members who probably know about other things and not just the committees that they're on. So I think a starting point would be to require the committees to look through the strategic plan and do changes, updates, talk about it twice a year. Maybe depending on what's going on, it's like, oh, it's okay. It's like, okay, May is the month that committees have to talk about the strategic plan. And then, then that takes it to like December too. But I think they need to look at it more than once a year. So I think that is my suggestion for a starting point.
Okay, great, thanks. And I think that that's a really good plan in consideration of our calendar. You think in May, these committees either have re-elected their committee chair or they have selected a new committee chair, because it would have been after our spring meeting. So I think that May is a very good starting point to get that rolling. And then nobody said it had to be a full 6 months down the road. It could be September. I know that's only 3 months in difference, 4 months difference, but we look at the way the schedule falls, October, November, December, with nationals traditionally falling in those fall months, that's never going to be a good time for the committee to do extra work, because a lot of those folks on the committees are also participating in the national specialty. So what if we looked at that and charged the committees with a review in May? And honestly, if they are able to review heavily in May when things are hopefully not quite so hectic, other than being the end of the show year, and then by the time they do their secondary review in the fall, that secondary review would be basically minimal, because they would have already addressed the things that were needing to be addressed in their areas. What do you guys think about that?
I think that would work.
Okay, great.
That sounds good.
Okay, and that could be September through November, honestly, and give them a deadline as to when those edits, corrections, changes, whatever reports are due to the second vice in order to maybe meet that deadline that is established. And you saw your hand up again?
Yeah, a quick thing that may be helpful is once again, I think most times when the committees are tasked, can't say the word, with their revision, it's like they're just given theirs from the previous year. I
Right.
think they should be given from all committees to see what the other, like, because the formats and everything from each committee are totally different, which is fine. It's what the committee decided. But I think all of the committees would benefit from seeing the ways that the other committees have presented or outlined their goals. And even though I know the strategic plan is available to everyone on the website, I think maybe as part of that they are sent all the committee goals so they can compare and contrast and see, oh, look, well, I like the way the committee did this. Oh, and I like the way, well, we did this. So to give them as much information as possible for them to be as creative and successful in what they're trying to do.
I think that's a great idea. And even though we can't force them to do that, I think it's a good option to put out there and make it available for them. So I think that that's a great plan, and we'll try to go ahead and initiate that through communication as liaisons to each of your committees and let them know that, we're hoping not to create extra work, but actually to lessen the load by basically splitting it into 2 time periods. Okay. Let's go on because we're kind of dragging on. We're approaching that 2-hour mark. Results of the Aussie Times survey. Jillian?
Okay, guys, in the interest of time, I've already sent you this, but this is really for the benefit of the members that are listening in. The Aussie Times poll results, as in terms of printed, online, or hybrid. Printed was 59.5, online 21.4, hybrid, which is alternating 19.1. Frequency was 6 editions and 4 editions were neck and neck. There's very little difference between the two, 48.1% and 46.4%. 3 editions at 5.5%. The membership stated very clearly that they are not interested in paying for the Aussie Times as a merchandise item. They'd rather it remain as part of their dues. 58% said no, not to separate them. 42% said yes. In terms of advertising, 45.4% indicated they would advertise in a printed version. 26.5% said they wouldn't advertise in either. 21.2% said they would advertise in both, and only 6.9% said that they would advertise online. Based on the poll results, coupled with the board's financial concerns, the Aussie Time Committee, which is comprised of Anne McCabe, Jan Wiesen, and myself, we are recommending to the board, and we are also continuing to collect data for, we're proposing 4 printed editions, beginning with Q1. So 4 editions means, every quarter you're going to get a time, the times. The first Q1 edition is January through March. The reason we selected that time frame is we need to get things back up and operational with our print team and our third-party handler in terms of postage. And then we also need to get back to obtaining the information in a timely manner and getting advertisers set up and so on, which is, Anne, is the deadline September, October for the January edition?
No, it's November 15th.
Okay, November. So all editions would be also, even though we would go to print, we would still be offering the online version for full members who want to opt out of the printed edition. And there's no additional charge for that. It's one document that goes to the printer. Same document can be published online. The Aussie Times Committee is suggesting that we start with a 2-year trial of 4 editions for the years 2025 and 2026, with the stipulation that we maintain an agreeable account balance. And that's something that if the board agrees with this concept, we're not prepared to submit a motion tonight, but we want to find out if we have your support conceptually. And if so, we're going to go to the next phase of collecting information. So the stipulation would be, should the account dip below this agreed upon sum, the next edition would be available online only, and so on until that sum is reached. The current single and dual membership is 3,333, the number of copies that we're estimating herein. The numbers in our estimate are conservative because we haven't printed the Times for a little bit, and we're gleaning off of past invoices, but also aware that with 4 editions, the editions in theory should be larger. And so there's going to be additional editing, additional costs for printing, and so on. The cost of postage has gone up drastically in the last 1.5 to 2 years. So the estimate you see here, which the membership can't see at this point, but what I can tell you is 4 editions would be $37.36. 6 editions would be $56.04 per member. The current full membership fee of $50 includes $15 in dues and $35 for the Aussie Times. So as you can see, based on the cost estimate, the estimate for 4 printed editions is $37.36 per full member. We believe that we can better our estimate on postage if we use a third-party handling company. And Sarah's working with them right now, our previous handling company. She's working with them to get an estimate. The estimate, could be 1/2 of this if we're lucky, but it's not likely that it's going to be 1/2. But we do think that we can get it back to $35 to have $35 of the Aussie Times fee encompass the 4 editions safely. If the board decides to proceed with what we are proposing here in concept, we will next work on the rule book. There's going to be a lot of revisions that need to be made and delineate out how the programs are showcased. And we'd have to revise advertising rates and so on. There was some discussion about, in the next phase, we would present to the board possibly parts of the Aussie Times that could be online only, for instance, title results and things like that. We want to try and keep it as cohesive as it is now, as close to and emulate it as it is now, but we frankly can't afford, if we're charging $35 for the Aussie Times and the members don't want they don't want to see increases, then we can't do 6 editions in print, not in today's economy, but we can start with 4. And like I said, it would be a 2-year trial period with an exit strategy if we can't accomplish it financially. We're also suggesting that we review some of the premium spaces and make them available for advertising. With any proposed changes, there's going to be logistic challenges. I spoke to Sarah regarding the lifetime members. I think it's important for everyone to acknowledge that lifetime membership does not include the Aussie Times. The members, that is for your dues, that $15 portion of your dues. So the $50 for a single right now is $15 in dues, 35 Aussie Times. So when you're a lifetime member, that is going toward your $15 dues only. So if a lifetime member should decide they want an Aussie Times in print, They would need to go to the portal, and then they would need to pay the $35 for the times. And we would give you advance notice so that you could be in the first run of Q1 2025. Also, Sarah did say that she has a request that if we're able to do this, our programmer that we have starting working on this litany of things for for our computer system, she said that she would really, really love if we could figure out a way to do auto renew, because that's going to help a ton with the lifetime membership. So at this point, I would like to ask Anne or Jan, my cohorts in the Aussie Times committee, if they have anything to add. And then beyond that, if the board has any questions for us.
This is Jan. We worked hard on a lot of ideas and things to cut out of the Times. So making it a better publication with a lot of information. Jillian, you did a great job of explaining all our hardships of trying to figure it out. I am still concerned about the finances, and that if we are in the shape to be publishing it, but we are talking about a few months out. So I'm agreeable with this program that we have set up of a good trial basis, and hopefully our programmer will be able to help us. And then the possibility of having some premium pages as advertisement is a way to generate more income and maybe more interest in advertising in the Aussie Times. So that's about all that I just wanted to highlight, some of the points that she went quickly over. Thank you.
Yes, I think we were, in terms of our decision on when to start, as Jillian said, there are rules in the policy book now regarding the Aussie Times, and those would need to be changed if we were going to have 4 editions a year and not the 6. And so just the timing with getting those changes, getting the publisher up to speed, everything like that, it just worked out well that the November 15th deadline for the first quarter would work. And I personally think that the November 15th is right after nationals, and I am I wouldn't say confident, maybe I am confident, that we will, 1, with getting it back in print, 2, having only 4 editions a year, and 3, the fact that the first one is just after nationals, that I see increased ad revenue, which would not necessarily be a line item offsetting this, but would be increased income, period. And so I think it is a good idea. We've talked about it. Another thing, possibility in terms of cost to get the hard numbers when we do, is to investigate different binding options or different paper options to see, because there have been improvements with that. So that's something else that we'll certainly try to look at all angles and get the most for our money. Thanks.
Thanks, Anne. Thanks, Jillian. Thanks, Jan. You guys did a lot of hard work on this situation. On the poll that was sent and received, can you give me the number of respondents?
I think I didn't print it out, but I want to say it's 957, which it's my understanding over 6,000 emails went out. They go to all voting members.
Correct.
And so we're looking at about, what's that, about 20% or something?
Just less than about 18%. So thank you for that. Okay, does anyone else have any questions or concerns or statements that you would like to share with the committee that worked so hard on this Aussie Times. Jody.
A couple of questions. Jill, you mentioned, how do they opt out? They could opt out. How are they going to opt out?
Lifetime members don't, so there are ways currently, like lifetime members are opted out. They
Right.
automatically don't get the Aussie Times, so they would have to buy it. The point in saying that there is a online, so my point is, if we go to print, we are not going to lose the online version. So it's not an either or scenario, but the online version is only available to full members. So it's if you are a service member, you don't have access to it. That is my understanding.
Okay, I'm misunderstood. I thought that you were saying that members, just regular members, single joint members, could opt out of getting a printed version.
If
Was that
wait,
true?
am I on or off? I'm on. Right now it is the desire of, I believe, the IT committee and the board to have the membership fees be able to be, they're hard coded right now. So right now it's the dues plus the membership fee on, or I'm sorry, plus dues plus Aussie Times on the portal because it's hard coded. It is the desire at some point, should it be able to be separated, to offer the potentially like a green option, but that is not available yet.
Okay.
So we're
Okay.
not at the point where we can yet offer that, but we can work toward that.
And given your numbers of the full members that would get a printed copy at this time, did you have a yearly budget or a yearly cost?
A yearly cost, so I'm showing you per edition. So it would be that number times 4. I'm
So-
only showing you per run. And the reason that we're showing you per run is because, well, there's a couple things. There's a little fun fact that I discovered when reading your year-to-date, month-to-month review financial, the P&L.
Uh-huh.
If you take the income that came in January, February, and March of 2024 for the Aussie Times subscription, it is exactly the amount of money needed per our estimate.
And you said $37.
So it's, well, do you have my spreadsheet in front of you?
No.
Okay, so so it's $9.34 per edition.
Ah, got it.
So
That's where my numbers were coming wrong.
So if there's 3,333 members, right? That's
Yep.
31,000. We'll just say 31,000.
3,100.
Now go to your P&L January through March, and the income was $31,010. So here's the reality from, this is now just a personal commentary. The membership these people have paid within their $50 for their Aussie Times. There is money in the bank account to produce the Aussie Times. We have budgeted and agreed to do a certain amount of editions. What the Aussie Times is proposing is that we get our act together and get it back in print. But now that we've done the analysis, we would recommend that we do this analysis on a regular basis. I did speak with Sarah, and she said to her knowledge it had never been done. So we do need to keep after this. We can't, cost of things change on a regular basis. But
Yep.
I do think it's very interesting that I just got that P&L today, and it was after I had already sent this, and I said, well, son of a gun, we're right on the money of the money that we need. That does not take into account any advertising monies, but while I think we're all on the same page that we want to be really, really careful with our spending, the membership has spoken and they would like their Aussie Times in print for the money that they have given ASCA. And I think it's our responsibility to find a way to do it. And we've got a proposal that addresses their desires as well as the concerns of the board financially. I think it's fair to say that we need to produce this magazine and we're going to do it, as best we can with the money that we have to spend and give them the best product for the money that they've given us. But we also need to be very cautious, which is why we've built in an exit strategy. And I think that's fair. I think the membership will see this as a fair compromise. Maybe we can evaluate it in the future and at some point go to 6 editions, but we won't know until we try it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Good job, you guys. Okay.
So basically, we just need to know if the board wishes for us to continue our investigation and if you guys are agreeable to this concept.
Okay, so we'll put it out and we'll just kind of do this. All those in favor of this concept and supporting what the Aussie Times Committee has presented us tonight. All in favor?
Woohoo!
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Okay. Any opposed? All right. Okay. So I think that answers the question, you guys. You've done a great job of getting all the data and continuing this work in order to provide the magazine that the members have paid for. So thank you guys, and we'll look forward to seeing what comes next. All righty, the next item on the agenda is the Board of Directors / member communication. And Jillian, this one is yours.
I got to get with Calla and see if I can't split these up in the future. All right. So I've been chewing on this for a while, and I think we can all agree that we work really hard to do what we think is in the best interest of the membership and the organization. And when things get rolled out, there are concerns being voiced from the membership, and we need to figure out additional ways of reaching out to the community to understand their concerns and to know that make them feel like they are being heard. I read a lot of things. I don't comment, largely because I just don't choose to get into arguments, but I don't want to defend myself, but I do care. And I've talked to Jody before. I've talked to Ann and Jan a little bit. And so once again, I've created for the board, my notes, but I'd like to just read them and we can stop on any of them and discuss them a little bit further. And what's interesting is when we get down to the committees, I feel like Donna was already kind of talking about this with the strategic plan. But these are some ideas that I've just put on paper for our discussion and consumption in ways to make the board more relevant for the membership, which we serve. And first, starting with affiliates, I think coming up with some kind of, the way we communicate with motions and through these social platforms and whatnot, I don't know that it's very effective. I don't get the feeling that it's effective. I don't know that it's actually reaching all people or just a subset of them. So if we were to set up biannual Zoom calls with the affiliates, and whoever whoever the board liaison is, well, I guess there wouldn't be a liaison for the affiliates, but if we can get 3 directors on each Zoom call, because it's not realistic for us to have, what do we have, 133 affiliates, Kala? If we were to schedule 2 Zoom calls a year and try to get, you wouldn't have all the directors in every Zoom call, but you could have 3, and we could separate them, and we might be able to group some of the affiliates together based on program. Like some of them are confirmation only, some of them are stock only. We might be able to get 3 or 4 presidents and affiliate reps on the phone at the same time with 3 board members, and start talking to them about how we can bring value to them. We could split the calls by demographic. We could, well, I already said the program focus. I'm not sure how many affiliates we could get on one call and have it still productive, but we can come up with a way of managing this. And creating, with all these smart young people nowadays, I'm sure they could help us create what I call an ideas board. It's a place where, you know, these affiliates can all get together with the board and throw ideas together, like create a space for affiliates and the board of directors to cross collaborate ideas that work, cost savings measures, areas we can improve, membership retention, how to obtain new members. The more, like, create a space for affiliates to start communicating with each other as well as with us. Then we learn more about them, they learn more about us, we start working as a team. It's interesting. I've been talking with different affiliate people about, hey, have you ever thought about, so everything's so expensive right now. What if, for instance, confirmation? I talked to 2 confirmation presidents and I said, why don't you guys, because they're starting to drop off, they can't afford the venue. So they're not doing the Friday shows anymore. They're only doing Saturday or 3 shows on Saturday. And I said, but they said their entries are nothing. Their entries are going away. I said, why don't the 2 of you guys partner, do 3 days, 2 shows a day, and one club does Friday AM, Friday or Saturday AM, Sunday AM. Then you get a bigger draw. The exhibitors have 1 hotel bill, you know, one fuel bill, and so on. And they were like, that is a great idea. And they started talking about doing it. Now, I do know some clubs already do it, but what's happening is the clubs are getting fewer and fewer. The people don't have as much money to drive to 2 different clubs. So we started talking about it and they decided to do it. But that was because we started talking about ways to, what it came from was the idea about the board raising fees. Well, we started talking about it and I said, ASCA is having to raise fees because we need to also cover our expenses. We started cross collaborating and came up with some ideas. If we have a space designed for just affiliates, they will be able to cross collaborate. We will be able to learn more from them. It's just a way. So at the national, I realize that we have a platform for affiliates if they want to come talk to us. But frankly, you guys, you know, they're so tired. And the affiliate meeting was not well attended. I mean, the membership meeting was not well attended. I would venture to guess if we start scheduling a biannual meeting with the affiliates, and there would be several of them, but we can divide and conquer. I bet we would get more attendance at the national because they would be there just to share ideas. So if you carry that on to the committees, I know you guys were talking about the strategic plan. Wouldn't it be nice if we could, the liaison and 2 directors with each of those committees, we sit down with them and talk to them about what is on your strategic plan, what should be on your strategic plan, what does the board hope to glean from your committee, what do you need from the board? I mean, do you need help getting other committee members? It would become again a way to cross collaborate with them and make them feel like we actually care. We do care, but we haven't set aside time for them except for at the national, which in my opinion is a terrible time for anybody to try to do anything extra. Moving on to the membership. This is obviously a bit more difficult because there are so many members, but to create a monthly town hall of current events and or upcoming topics, putting things in writing is fine, but it seems to have a very negative tone when we just throw motions out there, and there's no place for them to dialogue. There's often one or more very disparaging comments, and I think if you're not wired that way, people don't want to get involved in that. I think on our member IO, there's only a handful of people who comment, and there's 800 plus members on there. But frankly, a lot of people don't want to get in the fray. They don't want to get involved in the scuffle. But if we gave them a platform to listen to someone talk and to be able to ask questions, now it would be a little more complicated. It can be conducted on Facebook Live or some kind of an app that's similar. I live in a small town in California, and our sheriff, once a week, he goes on Facebook and he does a town hall and he brings the community up to speed. People are allowed to ask questions in the feed. There is a moderator that fields the questions because some of them are trolls. It is Facebook after all. But a lot of really good questions bubble up, and a lot of the community have similar questions. So I may be listening, and the question that I have is asked by someone. If these town halls are topical and they're structured in such a way that we have the right people that are there to address the community at large and answer questions, and if nothing else, even if we can't answer the questions, then we could collect the questions and research and get back to them. The other thing is I do think if we had, again, an ideas board, if the membership had a place to drop ideas in a positive, productive manner, instead of everything is reactive that I'm seeing right now, we might be able to flush out some really great ideas. So one of the things, I don't know if you all looked at all the comments from the Aussie Times poll, there were some really great ideas, really great suggestions, perspectives that I hadn't thought of, and there's value in that. And to be able to regurgitate that and tell members, hey, those were great ideas. They want to hear that. They want to know they're bringing value because this is their club as well. So I think there are things that we can do together to figure out other ways. Frankly, from my perspective, I know we're all desperately trying, but I don't know that it's having the effect that we're hoping. I think, I don't really think the membership dislikes this board specifically. I think there are members that talk about the board as though it's not people and it's just an entity, and that's okay. I'm not afraid of negative comments. What I'm really hoping is that we can reach beyond the people that are regularly involved and try to tap into the rest of the membership who aren't commenting. And I've gotten a lot of feedback as to why they're not commenting, and it's because it's a very negative, toxic environment that they don't want to be in. So how can we create a healthy environment for the members and us? We're never going to please everybody. I understand that, but I would like to at least try. There was some talk at the spring board meeting about brand identity, and circling back to our mission statement, everybody in ASCA is passionate. We're emotional people. And so, we get out of control a little bit sometimes, but that's because we care. And I think if we get back to the roots and start being able to disseminate what ASCA stands for and what part each of us play, everything we write publicly as a board member is for membership consumption. It matters what we write. It matters to the members. It matters to the board. It matters to the population. We can't really grow ASCA until we make a concerted effort to get healthy as a board and to get healthy as a membership. So I really desperately, I'm working on the sponsorship committee right now. We, just as a plug, Jeannie Mastic just landed 2 corporate sponsors this week. Thank you. Thank you, Jeannie. It's been an uphill battle, but that's what happens when you're cold calling. It takes a while. You have to work leads. But we've got a new gal that's on board. We have another gal that's coming on board as soon as the board can vote. You know, we desperately need this pool of talent that we have in the membership, but we're not reaching them. We're not even talking to them. We're not hearing them. And so I am an advocate for this board doing something different. Even if we fail and it goes nowhere, I will be content knowing that we're going to try to do something different. So that's in a nutshell. I don't know if you have questions, but I hope that, I know we're going into executive session after this, but I hope that I have stimulated some of you to join me in this. And I hope you guys are on board for me trying to work to figure out ways to bring this to the membership. I'm willing to run with it if it's something you guys want to support and you think that this is going to be good for the membership. I don't see anything negative from it, but I'd love to hear your feedback.
Thanks, Jillian. A lot of good thought processes put down to paper there, and I appreciate that. I think that this is definitely something that needs to be looked into, and it's definitely something that can benefit this organization, is to make the membership feel that they can definitely contribute and in a healthy environment, and not necessarily what sometimes they're coming in contact with. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say on this loose proposal and suggestion?
This is Jan. I love the idea and the activity that we got during COVID for Zoom meetings for membership was quite useful and lots of information. And I'm all for streamlining some of this and making it available so that we can be communicating. And the opportunities that we have had with committees to sit down with committees, we have worked out issues doing phone meetings with them and finding out what the issues are and getting more information. And we just need to get back to doing more of that. So I love the plan and I'm in full support and hope we can get started with it.
Great. Thanks, Jan. Jody?
I just wanted to say I'm in full support as well. I thank Jill for at least putting down an outline as a way to look at it and get started, and I'm wholeheartedly behind it.
Excellent. Anybody else have any further comments on this topic? Okay. Jillian, thank you again. This is that's good brainstorming. Thanks for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The last item in the open session tonight is the ratification of last month's email business, and any director can move to approve that.
This is Donna. I so move.
Thank you, Donna. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And that was Jillian. Okie doke. Is there any discussion? Motion on the floor is to approve last month's email business. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. It's now 2.5 hours in, and I want to thank the membership for listening to our very elongated membership board meeting tonight. And thank you guys for sticking with ASCA. Thank you for being a member. Thank you for supporting this organization. I hope you all have a great end of the show year, and we will be in touch with you next month. Thank you so much.